Welcome to Marketing Mistakes and How to Avoid Them. Here's your host, Stacy Jones.
Welcome to Marketing Mistakes and How to Avoid Them. I'm Stacy Jones, and I'm so happy to be here with you all today. And I want to give a very warm welcome to Howard Zales. Howard is the president of Viridity Entertainment Services, where they specialize in delivering professional standard live streams and remote productions for a wide range of clients. With over 25 years of experience as a camera operator, Howard has worked on some of the most iconic sports events and high-pressure productions, including Super Bowls, Olympic Games, and Wrestlemania. Howard has been at the forefront of delivering broadcast quality live streams and remote recording, creating seamless and engaging experiences for audiences worldwide. His expertise and dedication have even earned him a prestigious recognition of an Emmy Award. Howard's passion for mentoring the next generation of television sports freelancers is equally impressive. He has created the Broadcast Sports Course, a proprietary training and mentorship program that helps aspiring technicians kickstart successful freelance careers in the industry. Today, Howard and I are going to be chatting about challenges faced with live streaming hybrid events. We'll learn what works from Howard's perspective, what should be avoided, and how some businesses miss the mark. Howard, welcome. So happy to have you here today.
Hi, Stacy. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Of course. Well, I love starting off always with this conversation of what got you here today. Obviously, you have a very storied past of a lot of sports broadcasting, but is that what you wanted to do from the time of when you were a little boy?
I wanted to play professional baseball, and I did everything possible to try to get to Yankee Stadium as a baseball player. I went to, Bucky Dent's baseball school in Florida. I went to hitting clinics every Friday and Sunday night in my hometown. I just, baseball, I loved baseball. And then in 11th grade, I needed one more class. So I needed an elective. And the class was, one of the choices was a TV production class. And the description was a trip to NBC Studios and Rockefeller Center, a tour of NBC Studios, and to watch a TV show being taped. I'm like, well, how bad could that be, right? That's an easy A. And I ended up falling in love with television production.
That's awesome. That's a nice story. And so you went to college. Did you decide to major in television broadcasting at that point?
So I only, targeted colleges that had TV production programs. I went to a school in upstate New York, SUNY Plattsburgh, and the opportunities were endless because I was able to produce, direct, shoot all different sporting events. We produced corporate videos for local clients. That was a class. So I was able to have a wide range of experiences, but I always still knew that sports, I wanted to be a sports camera operator was what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how to get into it.
So you've been in your industry for about as long as I have, both of us a quarter of a century, and it goes by fast. Has it changed a lot since the days when you got involved, or is it pretty much still the same and just technology is different?
It's pretty much the same. When I started, it was standard definition. Now it's high definition, and we kind of tested for 3D that lasted maybe 2 years. 4K is, the new thing, but nothing's broadcasted in 4K. And, in the sports world, we really don't use it too much because it eats up so much bandwidth. So yeah, it's pretty much still the same.
And so when you are going and approaching a new event to work with and you're putting a plan together, what are the first things that you try to figure out so that you can make sure it's going to be successful?
The first thing we try to figure out is when we're putting an event together for a client, we want to know what is the internet like? That is our number one challenge in any and every location. Is what is the internet like? What is the internet like at the time of day that we're going to be doing the production? Because it could be different all different times. And we have to make sure that we have a dedicated pipeline for our show that we're not going to be sharing with anyone else. So that's our number one fear, concern, whatever you want to call it, that we deal with on every production.
Because the show does not go on if you can't actually get eyes on it.
Correct.
So obviously that's incredibly important to do. And is that more so? So that's literally one of the first conversations you're going to have with whomever is hiring you or that you're coming into.
Yeah. Who's responsible for it? Is it us? Is it you? Is it the venue? What is the backup? Do we need to provide the backup? Because there's always, we always push for some sort of internet backup. Um, we produce all of our shows from the cloud. So we'll produce it locally, we'll ship it to the cloud and then live stream it from there. So if something should happen locally, or some of our people are working remotely, that's the reason why we do things in the cloud. So we can keep a lot of our team working remote in those sorts of situations.
Right. Versus having to have an entire camera room and a crew room where people are on site.
Yeah, we can literally have our producer, director, main audio person, all working from home, our teleprompter operator, our green room operator, depending on who, what the client wants, we can keep just about all those people working from their home.
And so that means you just need to have your cameraman and someone who's potentially a host or who's engaging and interacting.
Yeah.
And what are some of the other issues that come up sometimes?
Yeah, some of the other issues are, what is the lighting like? Do we need to bring in external lighting? It all depends on what does the client want for the in-person experience to look like. Do we need to bring in projections, TV screens, LED walls? Is there enough power in the room to handle all sorts of those, all of those sorts of requests? What's the graphics like? Is the client going to provide us with the graphics? Do we have to create the graphics based on the client's color scheme and codes? So those are all questions asked, and hopefully, the client provides those sorts of things.
I bet you have some remarkable stories of things going awry on air and how y'all have had to cover.
Yes, definitely. We during COVID, we're doing a live stream with Charles Barkley, Magic Johnson, Jim Nance from CBS, and all of a sudden Charles Barkley just froze on the air because he accidentally kicked out the Ethernet cable. So all of a sudden there's Charles Barkley just frozen solid, and we're all looking at the screen from our houses like, why isn't he moving? Why isn't he moving? Oh my God, he's frozen. So we took him off the air as quick as possible.
Well, hopefully he wasn't like me, because all through COVID, my team members got a lot of joy out of capturing me in all of my frozen moments on screen,
Yeah.
usually with my mouth open and my face completely askance.
Yeah, we managed to make a phone call to someone that was in the room, and we got him back relatively quickly. But it was a panic.
That's awesome. So what are some of the ways that you work with clients besides making sure internet's going to be there, got the graphics dialed in, everyone's on the same page? What are some of the things that go right or wrong at the event beyond that?
Yeah, what can go right or wrong? We want to make sure that we use a very complicated production software, and we want our clients to understand the software and what they're seeing and how it's working, so they're not confused. We break it down as easily as possible. We have an intercom system where the clients can talk to each other, they can talk to us. Our technical team can talk to just each other without the clients, so they're not hearing everything we're saying. So we take them through the entire process of what the production looks like from our standpoint, so they really understand what's going on. And the most important thing to us when we're doing an event is the rehearsal. When the client says no to the rehearsal, that puts up a big red flag to us that one, they might not care what the production looks like, or, it's just not a priority. But for us, the rehearsal can possibly save the quality of the production, because what we try to do, or what we tell the clients, is this is going to look like a hot mess. Like, we have no idea what we're doing, but what we are trying to do is create every possible scenario that can go wrong, so we know how to avoid those situations.
And I get it. I'm sure that a lot of your clients are like, I have 1,001 things to do. The last thing I want is this, or it's an extra expense. They're not thinking about the fact that run-throughs are something that every professional scripted series and a lot of non-scripted actually do themselves.
Well, and here's a good story about a client not wanting to rehearse. We did the live stream announcement of Live Golf, which is the new golf league, which Greg Norman's name is associated with, and he was there for the announcement, and he was the one that was kind of leading the charge of the live stream. And we have a clicker that we provide all of the talent that are in our shows that have PowerPoint presentations. And there's a button on the clicker that when they push it, it reflects a light to us that basically says advance the slide. And we begged and begged to do a rehearsal with Greg Norman, and the client said no. Greg said no. The morning of the shoot,
I can I can click my clicker, no problem.
So what did he do during the show? Kept clicking this because he was
Clicking it.
nervous. We were advancing the slide. His person kept coming over to us. They were lost on the script because they didn't know where he was. It was a disaster. And, that's what you get when you don't rehearse, because if he just would have went through it one time, we would have solved that, situation.
Right. And then you guys don't look good. His team doesn't look good, and he looks horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else happens? I'm intrigued. I'm like, what other stories do you have?
Yeah, just anything and everything can possibly go wrong. We always travel with a battery backup unit, because one time we were in the middle of the show and someone kicked the extension cable to our live stream server out of the wall, and that's like losing power completely. So we travel with 2 battery backups. Everything's plugged into the battery backup, and we have 90 minutes to plug everything back in. So, it's just all these different things. We try to anticipate what can go wrong, and we have backups to backups to backups.
And yet still people do kick things out, like Charles Barkley.
Right.
That's awesome. And so what else? Is there anything else that happens and goes wrong that you've seen?
No, we try to make sure that, nothing, as much as doesn't go wrong, can go wrong, because we try to rehearse as much as possible. We try to come in set up as much as possible, in terms of that we have a lot of meetings prior to the event. I'll always go and do a site survey of the event space. So when we get there the day before, we always like to do a setup day. So when we get there on the setup day, we'll already know where the cameras are going, where all of our tech equipment is going. So I always have a plan in place before we get to the location. We don't have to just start to figure things out.
I'm assuming that having an outdoor event that you're filming is even more complicated than indoors too.
Yeah, always, because of the weather and the sun. The sun is the hardest, thing to predict. Clouds are a television person's best friend. Having the clouds protect the sun always make life a lot easier for lighting.
Until those clouds bring forth rain.
Hopefully not. But if you ask any photographer, they always rather have a cloudy day than a sunny day, except for when the sun is like, the 5 o'clock magic hour. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so, are there any other tips or tricks that at home people should know before they're engaging, someone to actually produce this event that's a live stream for them.
Yeah, you want to, when you do a live stream or a hybrid event of any sort, there's a lot of technology that's involved. You want a company or people that do this for a living to be able that you can rely on to take control of all of the tech side of things, so you can rely on maybe producing the content side of things. And that's what we do at Viridity, is we take care of all of the tech that's associated with producing any type of event.
And you asked me this earlier to ask you, and I didn't even think until just now when you said it. How did Viridity come up? What does the name mean?
Oh, Viridity. So as a business owner, I go to masterminds, and I went to a mastermind event, and one of the icebreaker conversations that they had was, they said, when you in business and in life react very negatively very quickly if something goes wrong, right? That's called being in the red zone. Conversely, if you act, you get super excited when you have a great sale or something goes really, really well, and you quickly act very positively, that's called being in the blue. But if you're kind of like even keeled, no matter what the situation is, that's called being in the green. And that's my personality. I'm kind of just middle of the road. I go with the flow. And so I came home from that, and I talked to my wife, and I said, Jen, we need to come up with, a word that means green, but that it's not associated with money, because that's obnoxious. And so we looked through a thesaurus, and we saw this word Viridity. And then I said, well, VES, Viridity Entertainment Services, that kind of flows. And that's how it kind of came up.
That's awesome. That's a creative way to come up with a company name. So one of the things I mentioned as well earlier, and I'd love to dive in more. So you're very passionate about mentoring other television sports freelancers, and you've come up with your own course. So
Yes.
how did you go about doing that? And for those who are listening who are like, I'd like to come up with a course, there's a lot to it. It's not just figuring out what you're going to say. It's then marketing it. It's recording it, obviously, it's packaging it, and it's making sure people see it. So have you approached this?
Yeah. And I made a mistake with the course by not recording it. And I should have spent the extra money and had it recorded, because then I could be selling it now. And that's the one thing I did not do. But how I came up with it is, my first business, HJZ Productions, we hire sports and entertainment crew nationwide for all different sporting shows and concerts and things like that. The age of freelancers is getting older, and I saw the need to kind of hire a younger group of people. And I knew that I was mentored as a young person. And even to the day I stopped shooting, I always looked up to people that were older, because if you stop learning on the job, then you're not growing, right?
Mhm.
So I decided that I wanted to come up with a course to teach younger people how to get into the business, because it took me a long time to get into the business. Because it's, who are the clients? You don't even know who the clients are. And it's hard to get into the unions, and how do I use the equipment? And there's no training ground. That's the biggest problem. There's no training ground. So I with the help of some friends and a professional writer, we designed a manual from the second you park your car to the second you get back into your car, what your responsibilities are as a camera operator, as a utility, and as an audio person. And we took it a step further, as a camera operator, what your responsibilities are on how to shoot baseball, basketball, soccer, hockey, boxing, from every camera position in a pretty general sense. It's all pretty much a formula. Every director may tailor it differently, but as long as you have the general way to do it down, you're in a good place. And then we had people come in for a 2-day in-person course. The first day was teaching, how how to speak to clients on the phone. We gave out an email template, how to write an email, how to follow up. What's the appropriate way to say thank you for the work? Um, and then the next day we brought in the equipment that they would be using, and wouldn't let anyone leave until they were completely familiar with and knew how to use the equipment. So the first day on the job wasn't the first time they were seeing that equipment.
Sense as well. And is this a course that you've gone ongoing that you continue to teach, or is it?
We've done it one time, and we're going to do it again because we had great success. We had 5 or 6 people in it, and I've actually hired 5 of those 6 people on an ongoing basis. So it's been successful.
That's awesome. And I bet the next time that you do it, you're going to bring in your crew and record it.
Yes, that was the big mistake for not recording it.
It happens. I mean, I think all of us do that, right? Like we go in and we think so much about the thing that we're doing versus how do we create tangible marketing assets, or how do we create actually content from whatever it was.
Yeah, I was so concerned, like you said, about what to say, how I was going to say, how was I going to come off. I was so concerned with all that and all the handouts and the book and the equipment that I completely didn't even think about recording it.
Yeah, and that's easy to do, but in hindsight, it's like, I have all this awesome information and I can share it. Plus, you have the resources of actually knowing how to record this stuff.
Right.
So for our listeners at home right now, if they were to move forward with wanting to produce a live event, what is their best first step to do?
Yeah, the best first steps would be, one, have your content contact a company like us to help you produce it, and we walk you through the steps on how to do it.
Okay, that's easy enough. So Howie, how can our listeners find you if they want to learn more, if they want to engage or ask questions?
Sure. I'm on all social media, but LinkedIn at Howard Zales, howiezales.com, and then all of our company websites you can get from howiezales.com. And we offer 10% discount to any companies that do their first event live stream with us.
Awesome. And any last parting advice to our listeners today?
Yeah, anyone at home, if you're doing Zoom calls or team calls, and you're trying to look the best, you always want to have a ring light on either side of you, and try to put the camera, if you can put the camera as far away from you as possible, so you get some depth. That'll help you look your best.
So I think what you just said is incredibly important. It's something I did not know either. So instead of having a ring light in front of you, you're saying put it on either side of you so it's washing you with light.
Yeah, so my lights are coming from the side. It's called cross lighting, and I have a light above me, so it's lighting my head and my shoulders, which separates me from the background.
That is something that I think people fail to do on the regular.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your coming on today, chatting so much about all of the event and hybrid and what can go wrong. Congratulations on your program that you're going to be building out even more as well.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And to all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Marketing Mistakes and How to Avoid Them. I look forward to chatting with you this next week. And until then, if you have any questions about how you can get your brand to become part of other people's content through product placement in movies or TV shows or music videos, or working with influencers or celebrities, please reach out to my agency and we will be happy to chat. And until then, have a great one.